Hello and welcome to Down the Slope. I'm Ewan and I am joined by Greg and Liam. How you doing, lads?
In the Christmas New Year lull, to be honest.
Good Christmas?
Yeah, it was all right. You?
Aye, good mate. Aye, it was good. Aye, just nothing any better than that.
No, it was okay.
What about you, Liam?
It was good. It was good. Fucking been seeing lots of people I've not seen for a while and drinking and eating loads and just like everybody else. I'm enjoying the sort of 2 or 3 days of like rehab. Essentially, that's what it's been for the last 2 or 3 days. Before we do it all again in a couple of days' time. So
Yeah,
very nice.
Reset before New Year. It's Wednesday today, and Wednesday. So it's been 10 days since we last recorded. We obviously recorded the day that Maloney got the job. 10 days he's been in post. We've had 2 games, 2 wins, 3 wins on the spin if you include David Gray's one. I'm beating him 4 in the league. What have been the initial thoughts of the Sean Maloney era then, Liam?
I think the one thing that was noticeable for me right away against Aberdeen was the starting position of the wing backs, which I think has been covered in depth by a lot of people. They do seem to be quite a bit higher up the pitch. We also seem to be pressing as a team. I think on the Jack Ross era, we were quite happy to allow other teams to have the ball and we'd be pressing ones and twos. But now I'm seeing some people who've perhaps been much maligned for not pressing starting to chase the ball down, which is very good to see. And pressing is more of a team and more of a unit. And I think the other thing, third thing, if I can sneak a third thing and steal Ollie Greg's thunder before he gets the opportunity to answer that question, is just to say the passing. I think both in terms of the range, maybe the passing becoming a little bit shorter, but has also been maybe a wee bit braver on the ball and being a bit more prepared to take risks. I think that was particularly evident against Dundee United.
Yeah, Greg, prior to the Aberdeen game, I guess there'd been a lot of speculation. How would we set up? What would Sean Maloney's style be? It looks like, I think we can also, there's definitely 3 at the back.
Yep.
And then there's probably 4 clear midfielders, and then there's people around the striker that do stuff. What's been your initial thoughts on the way that we're playing?
I think it's one of them that you can see it in stages, but not the full way through the game. So I think it will take a wee bit of time to build up to a full 90 minutes of intense pressing, of the tempo. I think that was good though, because although Nisbet is maybe playing more of a false 9 at times, it allows him to get on the ball more, while allow the fans to calm down about him, because he is busy, he is doing things. So yeah, I think it's quite fluid in the final third, which is good to see. I think that he's coming, he's obviously had a plan of what he wants to do already before he got the job. So it's good to see that that's been executed. And although he kind of did fall into old ways for the last maybe 20 minutes against 10-20 minutes against Aberdeen of sitting back, it was good to finally get another clean sheet and a good 3 points at home. So
yeah,
so far so good.
In the first 20 minutes against Aberdeen, I thought there was a marked difference. I think what you both said about the pressing, I think it's always a difficult one, isn't it? Because you do always expect that sort of reaction when under players with a new manager coming in, but it felt like there was a real difference in that first 20 minutes. But then it did sort of fade into quite an even game that I think in the first half, Liam, it's probably fair to say after that initial period, Aberdeen were probably slightly better. I would say they definitely felt like they dominated the ball probably from that sort of first 20-30 minute mark.
They were, but like it wasn't like they came in and really gave us a huge number of problems. Like they had a lot of the ball, but I think it probably typifies a lot of what Stephen Glass has been criticised for at Aberdeen, is that they kept the ball and they didn't really do anything with it. So no really any concerns from my point of view in terms of we didn't have quite as much possession, but also I think the fact that it was Sean Maloney. It's like basically his 3rd day in row, and we'd played a cup final like 72 hours or less than 72 hours before then. So probably just one of those things where we are in the middle of what's been some fixture schedule.
Yep.
The month of December.
Greg, was there any surprises in that first team lineup for you? Obviously, the back three sort of, when we play a back three, it generally picks itself. McGinn, Hanlon, and Porteous. Obviously, Scott Allen played in that sort of. I thought I'd really. Is that a number 10? but like you said, Nisbet drops deep a lot. But like Scott Allen played, Campbell played as part of a sort of two. I think Sean Maloney described it as 2 sixes. Was there any other surprises in there for you?
Did Scott Allen play? I didn't really see him do anything. He was a bit of a mystery, to be honest. I'm not overly surprised. They were impressed with him. Yeah, I generally wasn't impressed at all.
He was okay.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't okay. He drifted through the game. He done nothing really. Every time he got the ball, he would 9 times out of 10 get away. So I wasn't impressed with him. I think we touched on it when Maloney got the job. Would he be a permanent fixture? I think he answered that question himself, and the answer to that is no. And that's why you probably find that Dre Wright came in. I think Maloney's looking at these players, giving them time, giving them a chance to try and impress. I don't think Scott Allen did. I think Dre Wright was better. So yeah, I thought Jake Doyle-Hayes did struggle, and Paul McGinn as well against Aberdeen. I thought they two were miles off it. Whether Jake Doyle-Hayes went down injured because he knew he was having a howler, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes the distribution from McGinn is very slow, and that's really not what Maloney's looking for. So yeah,
I think I would agree. Of the back three, McGinn looked the least comfortable on the ball, especially obviously against Aberdeen. Didn't play against Dundee United. It's interesting what you say about Doyle-Hayes there. I think we would probably, all three of us would agree, he wasn't exactly, or didn't appear like he was playing all too well before his injury. But Maloney did highlight that he thought he was doing really well, Liam, in his post-match interview after the Aberdeen game. What did you make it? Because I think the midfield too, there's going to be a big demand on them, whoever they are, in this system.
I think there's going to be a big demand in the midfield too. And I think everybody's using kind of like Belgium as the comparison. And I'm not sure that it's ever a fair equivalence to compare the midfielders that Belgium used to the Hibs midfielders. But if you take it someone like Axel Witsel, who's a name that probably most of our listeners will be familiar with based on his CV and his sort of playing exploits in his career, both a midfielder that can do the stuff that Doyle-Hayes does in terms of linking the play together nicely, picking the ball up off the back three or back four, whoever it be, but also has like an engine on him and can run and can cover ground. I'm not sure we're going to be in the market for very many players that can do all those things and do them well. So I think there is a bit of just trying to find the right balance with the midfield, and maybe the right balance isn't Doyle-Hayes and Newell, but based on what Maloney asks them to do, maybe it's Doyle-Hayes or Newell and Josh Campbell based on Campbell's ability to cover ground. Having said that, I don't think that Josh Campbell will be a nailed on starter every single week still, because I think there's players to come back who will do that role better than he will. But it's going to be really fucking difficult to find the balance. There might be a bit of trial and error with it as well.
Yeah. Do you think?
I think as well. Sorry, talking to the Witsel kind of comparison, he's a man that can also go in for a tackle. He can win the ball. He can start things. Hibs are going to need 3 midfielders to do his job.
Yeah, that's just the level we're playing at. Yeah.
You're not going to find a player that can do all 3, certainly within our budget. So I think he will need to try and build a midfield off that. The right combination, I don't really think anyone really knows.
If you were to guess right now, or if everyone was fit, say like a Kyle McGuinness, would you think he'd be playing in that too, or do you think he'd be playing more where, or do you think he'd be playing more where Scott Allen was playing, maybe against Aberdeen?
I don't know. I think it's difficult because like
that Dre Wright position, sort of what he done against Dundee United. I think he'll be the two.
I think I'd probably prefer McGuinness and behind the strikers, to be honest. He's like, he can score goals. You've seen him at the start of the season where he was in the box, he was there, he was scoring. I know Liam's going to come in and totally annihilate that point, but I think for me, I think that's probably where you're going to get most out of him, where he gets in the box and he can make things happen.
What about yourself, Liam?
I think McGuinness has got 2 ways of getting in the team. I think, or maybe actually 3 ways. I think McGuinness, and with everyone fit, I think McGuinness and Hallberg has got a very strong potential of being his starting 2 in midfield. I think they're the 2 most complete all-round midfielders that we've got at the club, on the basis of what they do with the ball and what they do without the ball. Mel Carlberg's a wee bit of a forgotten man, and it might turn out, it might be transpired. It just goes in January. We never get the opportunity to see that midfield too. So take everything I say here with a pinch of salt. There's obviously a transfer window around the corner. But
I would like to see Halberg get another wee run in the team. To be honest,
I think if you take what Maloney said at face value, like
everyone's going to get a chance.
Or like Liam says, unless he goes away before the break finishes. But I don't see any reason why, if he's still here, why he wouldn't get the chance.
I guess the thing that Maloney's got to go on now is purely training, because the Celtic and the Derby coming up as well. So he's not going to take risks in those games. He's going to purely base it on what he sees in training.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's been good so far. If I'm honest, I think it's a coincidence that Joe Neal's not been in the team, and we've been very good going forward. That's the only thing I would say on that.
Yeah, going back to the Aberdeen game, obviously the first half, like I say, it was a bit of a non-event, really, wasn't it? I think we were fairly impressed for the first 20 minutes in Aberdeen control. Second half, we got the goal. Ryan Porteous scored. There was then another non-incident at the game that became an incident after the game, where he's since been what's the word? Is cited the word? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
What did you make of Ryan Porteous's contribution against Aberdeen with his goal, and then his apparent kick out at Christian Ramirez?
Things that happen on the football pitch 10, 12, 15 times a game. If certain individuals in the media want to highlight that for their own agenda, then of course the SFA are going to feel compelled to take action. I think it's difficult because it now feels like a wee bit of a runaway train with certain individuals. Alex Rae probably being top of that list.
Yep.
Guy's obsessed. Like, literally spends his daylight hours thinking about a 22-year-old laddie for Woodburn. Like, he needs to fucking grow up and move on, basically. It's weird. It really is.
Greg, what was your take on it? Obviously, I didn't watch. I don't know if either of you had watched Sports Scene of the game. I didn't watch it, but I believe it was highlighted in that. And then obviously Ramirez tweeted about it the following day. The first
trial by social media.
Yeah, the first I'd heard of it or seen of it was when Ramirez tweeted it, and it baffled me. I mean, you look at, again, we can only talk about what happens in games involving Hibs, really. But how many times, last season, Morelos stood on Dan McGregor? I don't think he got cited, as far as I'm aware. And something that really frustrates me in football, and I think I'd seen a few Aberdeen fans tweet this on the back of Ramirez's thing. Ryan Porteous, even if he does deserve or doesn't deserve a 2-3 game ban, what does that do to help Aberdeen? If anything, it hinders Aberdeen, because Porteous is going to miss games against teams that might, we play Hearts, for example. Say he misses the Hearts game. Aberdeen would probably rather have, if he was going to be sent off, sent off against them. It doesn't benefit anyone. I don't think these just whatever the decision is made in the game, I think should be stuck with. And I think we've seen it in the past in Derby games, like how many times have Hearts players had retrospective bans. I can remember a real bad one on Stevenson at Tynecastle that got done. That was so obvious, and it got done, and it does no favours for us. But the goal, second.
Just on Christian Ramirez and trial by social media, and Alex Rae. If he's going to start calling people out, he's not exactly squeaky clean, is he? I can't remember who it was, but he
standing an AC Milan player, son.
Yeah, right in the head. So good one, Alex Rae. You're a small, bald man with a complex. Your obsession is getting out of hand now. You can sit on Super Scoreboard and spout your shite all you want, but at the end of the day, literally a 22-year-old boy for Edinburgh lives rent-free in his head. Every time Ryan Porteous goes out the house, Alex Rae's got something to say about it.
Is it?
It's insane. And I tell you what, this is all peddled by what happened at Ibrox, because it brought up the other stuff of what's happened before and how he's only been sent off once before for winning the ball against Borna Barisic for the same ref against the same team. The similarities are screaming at you. So if Alex Rae wants to start, then he's not exactly in the best position to do that. But I think that this has now become a constant where anything Ryan Porteous does under the microscope, because he's had the attention on him before, and I don't think it's fair, to be honest. You know, people in Scotland want the young players to come through, but you're literally torturing someone for decisions they make on a football pitch.
Yeah.
You know, let's look at the positives. He scored a goal. He scored a great header.
Yep. Well,
you know, his passing was very good. His defending was good. But yeah, let's look at one incident.
Yeah. So Greg, obviously the goal, like you say, it did come from Ryan Porteous. I can talk about the goal. It was a good ball in and a good header, similar to maybe the goal we scored in the final. But the defence as a whole, I thought they stood up really well against Aberdeen. It's something we've been critical of. I think they defended crosses well for the 90 minutes. Aberdeen maybe had one chance that Macy made a good save from. Again, I've not watched the game back, so I don't know just how good a save it was or wasn't. But were you impressed with the defensive unit against Aberdeen?
Yeah, I think we dealt with everything well. Obviously, there's still areas to improve on. I feel like at times we do start panicking. We get into a space where his back's against the wall. But I think as long as you deal with the crosses and defend it properly, then there's not going to be any issues. One thing at the end of the game I did like is that all the defenders were, you know, congratulating each other. There's a bit of passion there, which is what I want to see. You know, especially the captain. I've been critical of him. He was the first when he went over to Josh Doig and congratulated him in a good game, and I think that's good to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to see that bit of passion at the end of the game. You know, you want to see the fist clenched. And I think we took it in the game against Dundee United, and we'll come on to that. But I think that if you get into a rhythm of defending properly and keeping clean sheets, then that's only going to be a good thing.
Yeah, Liam, you got any more to add on the Aberdeen game or the defence as a whole?
Nah, just one thing just on the set pieces, because obviously we scored for a set piece. John Potter was clearly set piece coach at Hibs, and I think we talked about that in a previous podcast. I think just worth calling out, both from a defensive and from an attacking point of view, a very noticeable improvement. It's not a slight on John Potter, might be a wee bit actually, but a slight on John Potter to be fair. But whoever's taken the set piece coaching, it's improved noticeably.
Yeah,
imagine my shock.
I would agree. And because even against St Mirren, we defended set plays pretty well as well under David Gray. So I don't know if maybe David Gray has sort of taken up that, and then who knows what's happening post with Maloney. Right, going into the Dundee United game, there was a couple of changes. Dre Wright came in for his first start of the season, and let's be honest, he's hardly kicked a ball all year. Maybe out with the League Cup, and we've seen Lewis Stevenson line up at left centre back. Paul McGinn dropped out, and I don't think that was any suspension from the final, because I don't think he's hearings till January. What did you make of the starting 11? Probably two surprises there, to be honest, because Paul McGinn has been pretty constant in the team this season.
Yeah, it's probably one of the issues, to be fair. I think it's good though. You know, you've got Stevenson, a very experienced head, who can also play a bit. I feel like his footballing ability is kind of dissed at times, but he can definitely play football. Good with the ball at his feet. I like it. I think we've seen it at Ibrox a couple of seasons ago under Lennon. It worked well. There was one pass replay in the first half where I think we were passing the ball about Dundee United were press, and we just passed it straight through the press. So you put football players in the team, they will play football.
Liam, do you think, obviously with Stevenson playing at left centre back and then Porteous and Hanlon shifted, do you think that potentially suits both of them better? Hanlon having players at either side of him, Porteous maybe giving a little bit more license to, because we've seen he likes to try and get forward. Do you think that suits the two players, or do you think longer term Porteous would still remain in the middle of the three?
I really don't fucking know, to be honest. I think I do like Porteous better on the right of the back three as a distributor. And I think I've said that before, so I'm not going to contradict myself. I think it's really important as to who the middle centre back is, because I think their understanding and their reading of the game probably has to then be superior to the two that are outside of them. And it depends what Maloney wants. If he wants an aggressor in there, if he wants a guy who's going to kind of be more kind of covering centre back. It really, it's totally different strokes for different folks. It depends who we go with. I think just to come in on the Paul McGinn thing, I think there's going to be I'm fucking going to come on and talk about this later on, but there's going to be a few players who I think are going to be deemed a wee bit, maybe just don't fit the system. And I think I worry for Paul McGinn, because I think we've been saying it for a while. His limitations as a footballer, I think, have been laid bare a few times this season, and I don't think he's a very good distributor of the football at all.
Yeah, I think out of the three that generally play as a back three here, I think I mentioned earlier, I think he is the least comfortable on the ball. Again, I think he has his strengths, and I still think he's got a place at Hibs definitely for this season. I know he's out of contract in the summer. He's not one that I would expect to move on in January. I'm not sure if he's one that I would expect to get a new contract though. I think I wouldn't be against like a year extension. I think having a player that's capable of playing in a back three, capable of playing at right back. Like we've seen this season how stretched squads can get. But look, we'll come on to the January transfer window at the end. Greg, what did you make of the performance in general against Dundee United? Just Harry's not with us, but he made his thoughts clear to us. He felt it was the best performance that Hibs have put together this season.
It would have to echo what Harry says, to be honest. I was impressed with us from start to finish. Even when Dundee United had a spell in the second half, at the start of the second half, we dealt with that well. It sounds so cliche and it goes about all the time, but literally the passing, the moving, and the tempo was incredible.
Yeah.
The interplay, it's just everything clicked, and it's everything that I've wanted to see. And me and Harry went out on Boxing Day and we had a discussion at length about it. But this is kind of how I've wanted to see Hibs play for a long time, and I felt like Jack Ross almost put the shackles on Hibs a wee bit. The freedom was taken away. That on Boxing Day was exactly what a lot of Hibs fans have been looking for as well. And I think that things are only going to get better. The more time that Maloney gets with the squad, the more he's able to bring his own players in. And yeah, I mean, if I wasn't already sold, I'm now a card-carrying Sean Maloney fan club member.
Bed sheets firmly back in the attic.
Listen, I don't think the bed sheets will ever come out for him. And you can cut that and keep that. I genuinely am.
Do it.
Honestly, I was so impressed with us, and I'm so impressed with the way he handles himself as a manager. This has been his first managerial job. Like, he was soaked on Boxing Day because he was always out there. He was always talking to players. He was giving instructions. Honestly, I love him. I just love him.
Liam, it was 12 shots for Hibs, no shots for Dundee United in the first half. I think that was. I think we completely dominated the ball. But someone that I'm going to say he's been called out for, but it's definitely been tongue in cheek. But Dre Wright came into the team, and obviously on the start, sort of played on that sort of left hand side. Were you impressed with what he done?
He did well. It wasn't like a totally barnstorming exceptional performance.
Yeah.
When he got on the ball, he generally did well. He tried to make things happen off the ball. Others in the team, he worked hard to try and get possession. And he really mandate that by Maloney, as the other in the front two. I think all in all, a good performance. Yeah. I'm not getting carried away. I think I maybe tweeted about the resurgence of Dre Wright. that was largely tongue in cheek, because I still think that there might be a chance that he moves on in January. But he's probably better suited to that left of the front three role in Scott Allen, in my opinion.
Yep. Do you think right now, and look, we will come on to what we think we need in...
Right now.
Right here, right now, right here, right now.
I wish I was actually going to go on and talk about Dre Wright there, but I totally wasn't. Do you right now though? Do you think? I know we'll talk about the transfer window and stuff. Is probably that left of the three the position that's most up for grabs? Do you think in the team?
No. I'll tell you why. Because Chris Mueller's come in. That's his position.
I thought he played on the right. I don't know why I had that.
No, he's definitely on the left. He's definitely on the left.
Classic right footer that plays on the left. Typically.
Oh, right, okay.
So I think that position. I mean, we'll get on to the third goal and who scored it. But for me, I think on the left, Mueller has that. But again, Maloney used to see it in training from him.
Yeah. Aye. Right. Well, second half. Greg, you mentioned we obviously scored late on, but Chris Cadden, what a guy!
I mean, does he ever stop? I don't think so. And you know what? He deserves his goal, doesn't he? He works hard every week. That's bare minimum, but he also has a bit of quality.
Yep.
He play wherever the manager asks him to. And look, it wasn't maybe wasn't the greatest of build-ups with Boyle into him, but the finish, he screamed on that and he's hammered at bottom corner, and yeah, just
lovely stuff.
I was delighted for him, absolutely delighted, because I was standing like a proud dad clapping away, absolutely buzzing, you know. What a boy.
This is in danger of becoming the podcast, but I just agree with Greg, everything Greg says, but
that's because I'm always right.
It's nice to. It's nice.
That's because I am always right.
It's as I was going to say. It's nice because we're all happy. So we're all in general we're in agreement with each other.
Can I just say on Chris Cadden, give me a player like that all day long over a guy who's a show pony who turns up for you once every 3 or 4 games, who doesn't look like he's all that arse, but is capable of a wee bit of magic. Just give me a guy who gives you 110% every week. I know it's a cliche. He gets up and down that channel all day long, and some of the passes he takes into him are fucking horrible balls that are past his back foot or past square to him when he's wanting to run onto the thing. He never fucking complains. He just gets on with his job, runs up and down that flank. Those guys are worth their weight in gold. See if you've got a right wing back that can run like that and can run all day and has a wee bit of quality on the end of it as well. They're priceless.
I think as well. I think he's going to be. I think him and Josh Doig are probably 2 players that are probably very well suited to the way Maloney wants to play. I think these players are going to need a massive engine, because one noticeable difference, even in the Aberdeen game, was bodies in the box. When the other wing back has the ball, it's clear the other wing back's expected to get into the box, and potentially. Again, I know we mentioned earlier, but I think if Lewis Stevenson's going to play, it's probably going to be at left centre half as opposed to left wing back. I think going forward, because like we all love Lewis Stevenson, but I don't think he's going to really. I don't know if he's got the engine anymore to be getting into the back post 4, 5, 6 times again. And I think that's just to see what you're saying there. We all talk about you want a manager to get, but you want players to get. And you see, I think Chris Cadden genuinely loves playing for Hibs. Like I think I think there was an interview after, but just it looks like he enjoys himself. And I think he didn't like. We've seen it with players in the past that maybe look like they're not enjoying it. It's easy to enjoy when Hibs are winning and he's playing, but it's easy to enjoy yourself then. But he looks like a good guy that enjoys being at the club, and hopefully he kicks on from here, because I think he's been a bit stop-start with injuries as well. But when he plays, he generally plays pretty well.
Fine his brother as well.
His brother's decent too. Left midfielder though, Greg. We didn't need left midfielders to play.
Nah, we don't. Don't sign his brother.
See on the Cadden enjoying himself at Hibs. I think a lot of that could be due to the fact that he's landed at a proper football club. I'm not going to say in disparage about Motherwell, because I think they're a really well-run community club. I've no issues with Motherwell at all. But Oxford United and Columbus Crew. Yeah. I mean, like Oxford United, Tin Pot, Columbus Crew. I mean, it's a soulless experience going out and playing a lot of those
during COVID as well, wasn't he?
During COVID, he's come back. He's obviously settled in Edinburgh. I think he maybe just realises that he's at a good football club. He's at a big club, and he's enjoying his football. And he's, to be honest, I think based on what I've seen of him, if he plays right wing back, that's absolutely suited down to him down to a T. If you try and shoehorn him in the team in another position, maybe less so.
I think the other thing is that he's a big lad as well. He's got the physique. I think that's a big thing, playing right wing back as well. It's maybe the issue with Josh Doig is that he's not quite got that physique yet, but Cadden's so strong on the ball. He's so strong in possession, and it makes a big difference. And do you know what? He will drive at people. I mean, we've seen it Dundee United last season when he was getting absolutely halved. The boy gets back up and he's at it again. It's a joy to watch, to be fair. It really is.
Yep. Right. After that, obviously, Dundee United did score. I personally think it's a real good goal. Look, I think Hibs can do better, but I think he does well. I think it's late in the game, and it's a really good finish. Do you have any? And Greg, I know you want to talk about the defender, but Liam, I'll maybe come to you first. Maybe talk about Macy a bit more. Not much he can do with the goal, I don't think.
Not that one, no. I don't think there's a huge amount he can do with it. And Greg's going to come on to the defender. I think there's you're right. It's late in the game. There's lots of mitigating circumstances, but I'd still like to see someone be a wee bit more aggressive in that position. But I'm not going to steal Greg's thunder. Greg's the expert defender, so pass over him.
On you go, lad.
I hope you had your time agreeing with me. I think I counted it. He walked past 6 players. Let's get it right. No matter what stage in the game it is, going past 1, 2 isn't acceptable, but 6. The only thing that really stops me hammering Hanlon is the fact that he's on a booking for an extremely stupid foul earlier in the game. Doig needs to be stronger. Stephen needs to be stronger. I think it's Campbell as well needs to be stronger. Porteous just dangles a leg out. Hanlon's the same. Come on, please, just even if someone takes him out, just deal with it.
Is that maybe the one main thing you probably could have taken him down? He's outside the box for the majority of it.
Absolutely.
I think they obviously are showing him away from goal in general. He's going right to left instead of direct, but just take him out and back yourself at the free kick potentially.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was at the start of the Aberdeen game as well. We kind of backed off a wee bit as well, so I don't know if that's part of the plan, but for me, you really need to be dealing with that. I mean, look, it's good footwork for the boy. Let's get it right. He's done well. He's shown good ability, good technique. But come on, we really need to be dealing with that better. But it's okay because we did get a third. Yeah,
well, that's it. We didn't panic, and we actually scored probably our best goal of the game after that.
No. Come on, Ewan. No. Our best goal of the game was the second goal, purely for Jake Doyle-Hayes' pass.
Good pass.
Aye.
And the finish,
It's something that obviously Jake Doyle-Hayes spoke about it when we chatted with him, that wants to do more in the final third. I think he played that exact same pass at Motherwell on the first day of the season. I think it was for the penalty.
He did.
And I don't think he's played that pass since.
He hasn't. And he's probably gotten away with I don't know if he's gotten away with criticism or if he's just not been kind of under the microscope as much as some other players because he's relatively new, but a lot of his passing has been very sideways and backwards. And I think some of that will be instruction from the manager. And I don't want to put everything at Jack Ross's door, but some of that will be instruction from the manager. And the second thing is just not having the runners. Mm-hmm. Like, we've actually got players running ahead of the ball to receive passes in that position again now, and as a result, he does play a really nicely weighted pass, and I think he's capable of that. He needs to do more of it. He needs to keep doing it.
Yeah. I'll let both of you come on to this. You to definitely be more critical of Jamie Murphy than myself and Harry. However, we have definitely got on board in recent weeks. It's a good finish, though, isn't it? Like, and when you look at maybe the chances he's missed in a Hibs top,
yeah, it's okay.
Like, but it's a good finish. It's a good finish.
Yeah, it's okay.
Liam,
it's a good finish, but take it for what it is. It's a wee bit like the St Johnstone goal in some respects that end up being one. And just in the way he's kind of running away from goal. I don't know. Maybe completely the goal. As I said, it was about 6 or something deep at point.
I think there was some in the second half. I think he got fouled. And he honestly, the ball was like about 10 yards in front of him, and all he was doing was chirping away at the ref. Get on with the game. Maybe I would. I think I noticed that clear as day. I just feel like sometimes he does want to portray the luxury player a bit too much, instead of actually getting stuck in and trying to make more things happen. I mean, look, he's cut inside as usual. I just feel like sometimes he does the bare minimum and is very lazy in his play. Yeah, I think he was lucky with the break of the ball. He's passed on the bottom net. He's not exactly rammed it for 30 yards.
2 seconds ago, you're saying Chris Caddids is an unbelievable finish.
Because of the movement and the way that we've played it.
No, but we said that it was a great finish as well, so I don't think we can be saying Caddids is a great finish and no say that Murphy's is.
Oh no, we definitely can. Murphy's went under the goalie. The goalie should be doing a lot better. Murphy's like...
I'd give you that one. I think you probably should say, but anyway.
Thanks.
It's a good win. 3-1 at the second time up at Tannadice. Obviously, there's a certain club in Glasgow screaming about playing behind closed doors and that, but we're not that bad when there's no fans there, eh?
It was 500 Dundee fans. They were actually making a fair bit of noise for the 500. Credit to them. Looked like they were on a kind of like a boys' day out or something, didn't they?
Yeah.
Kind of like, there's a fair few of them suited and booted, having a good time. Actually, it looked like a laugh for what was 500 people.
To be fair, there wasn't that many more Dundee United fans at the League Cup game.
That was a very quiet affair to be honest.
No, look, it's good to go into the break. Where do you land? I think maybe Patrick McPartlin, I think, done an article in Evening News, and he questioned maybe is the break coming at the wrong time, but I still think the break's come at a good time for us. Maloney, I think the first 2 games, it's maybe a little bit of managerial bounce. Now he can really get his ideas into them over the next couple of weeks. Would you rather we had what would have been Celtic and Hearts games, or are you happy that the breaks come when it did?
It's difficult that there's many factors to that question. I think that for me, I'm happy that it's come when it has. I think it allows Maloney time to work on things in training to try and perfect them before those 2 games. But at the same time, I've got a bit of momentum, so it is difficult. But for me, I think it's come at the right time for us.
And I think we're all agreed it's the absolute right decision to, if fans are going to get in or not in a couple of weeks' time, we don't know, but you've got to at least give the chance for that to happen, I think, as well, is where all 3 of us land on, I would guess.
Yeah. Feels unlikely right now, but I think it'd be daft to not want the break to come now from a Hibs perspective, or from anyone's point of view, really. But
right. Well, like we say, we are now in the winter break. Next week's episode, we'll be doing sort of maybe a half-season review of some of our shouts at the start of the season. But the big thing that kickstarts in January is, of course, the January transfer window. So what we'll do now is go through sort of ultimately what we think will happen, what we want to see happen in the January transfer window, some ins, some outs, if you have any. What do you want to start with? Liam, do you want to start with your ins?
Positionally, or names, or
whatever you've got, mate. Aye.
So I think realistically, I would like us to sign 2 centre halves. I think realistically, I think we'll get 1 in the January window and another in the summer. Okay. I would like us to sign a centre forward. I would like us to sign a central midfield player who's maybe a bit of a closer to the can do it all type Swiss Army knife kind of thing that we were talking about. And it's going to surprise absolutely nobody who listens regularly here. I would like us to sign a goalie.
So that's 5 players, right?
Aye.
Right. No, that's what about yourself, Greg? What have you got on your in list?
I've not got an in list, but I would absolutely agree with everything that Liam said. Goalie, at least 1 centre half, midfielder and a striker. I think it's always easy to pick them out, but I think they are areas we definitely need to strengthen.
Yeah.
I think we've been critical enough of the goalie to last a lifetime, but he's showed nothing else in the last few games for me to think otherwise.
Yeah, I think along with Paul McGinn, look, I thought Macy was good against Aberdeen out with his kicking. I think in terms of coming for crosses and making saves, it's maybe one of his better games, actually. He didn't have that much to do against Dundee United, but...
well, the free kick for Nicky Clark, they were under the wall. That was like a pass back that he palmed it for a corner. Come on.
But he saves it, that's the main thing. I know, but he does.
Well done. Thanks for the bare minimum, but he really should be holding that. Come on, it's not going at any pace at all.
Yeah. For me, transfer-wise, obviously, look, we know we've got Chris Mueller coming in and Dylan Tate, obviously, who we both signed in the summer. Dylan Tate's initial loan period back at Raith Rovers is up in the next couple of days. I think Championship's going to have a game this weekend, won't they? And then it'll be ours for the 1st of Jan. And then I've got down, centre back, probably 2, realistically, although I think it'll be 1 now and 1 in the summer. Unless we got 1 on loan potentially to the end of the season. And then I've actually not put down a central midfielder, but I've put a winger and a striker because I think a striker's needed, and I think potentially, like I mentioned earlier, just a little bit more strength and depth and that sort of players that are going to look like playing in and around a striker. I think we could do with, although obviously he's have said that Mueller can probably play on that left side, which I had it in my head that he was playing on the right, so maybe that removes the need for that
as well.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Man.
Liam, you said, did we want names? Do you have any names of players you'd like to see us look at in January?
I've got a few centre halves, but I mean, fucking it's slim pickings, eh? Yeah. I was having a wee flick through centre halves just because I've been saying, well, we've all been saying for a while we need one. So it's kind of unfortunate. It's sort of no new names. It's like regurgitated names. I did have one new name actually, who I'd be interested in. Cedric Kipre used to play for Motherwell, went down south.
Yeah.
I think he's very different to the centre halves that we've got at the moment. Don't think he's been getting a game at West Brom for the last few while. So him. I mean, the other one is Jason Kerr's not playing for Wigan. Played 4 games in the league this season.
Wow.
Does he want to come home? I would be asking the question. And then I think the other one we mentioned, maybe in the summer sort of winner window podcast, because we were linked to him, was Conor McCarthy at St Mirren.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been pulling up trees this season for St Mirren, but he's one that I think we would be potentially looking at, potentially interested in. And I wanted to come up with, for balance, a left-sided centre half, but I literally drew a blank. Like, I could not think of a left-sided centre half, and I think
the only one I could,
we've all written off McCart.
Yeah, the only one I could think of really off the top of my head would be Liam Lindsay, but I think he just signed for Preston in the summer, so I don't think he'll be on the road. But yeah, he was the only one that I could really think of in terms of left-footed centre halves. There's also a boy at Reading called Tom McIntyre, who's Scottish, but I don't really know his current situation. I mean, possibly a loan if we were to, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I think he's been playing. I think he has been playing this season. He wasn't before, but I think this season's in the team.
There's not really, I think, sort of what you guys have said, there's nobody in the league really within Scotland anyway, or even, obviously, you had like your likes in Nisbet and Shankland in the past that were doing really well in the Championship. There's nobody screaming out as obvious, like there's a player that you really want to go and grab, and maybe that's always the case in January, potentially. But it's going to be an interesting window. One thing I would say is what I've seen of Jamie McCart this season, and I think he had a decent year last year, but I really think, as have St Johnstone in general, but I think he's struggling big time this year. Potentially in a season where more responsibilities landed on his shoulders. I think he has been exposed a little bit. Don't think he's been great in either game that we've played against him. Obviously got sent off at Easter Road, and again I thought he was really badly exposed against Celtic at the weekend as well. He's not a player that I think I would be. Look, if he signs it, like I'd be surprised if Hibs went back in after his performances this season, if I'm honest. In terms of outgoings for me, I've only really got 4 down, and I think they're 4 extremely obvious ones. James Scott to go back to Hull. Because I don't think he's played a minute under Maloney, has he? Even though he's been available. I've got Jamie Gullen for the same reason. I think he'll probably now go permanently. Sean Mackey will go permanently, although that one I could see he might stay just because I don't know, like he's been injured for so long. But I think he'll be away one way or another. And then I've got Dylan Tate. I think he'll go back out on loan to a Championship club or lower end Premiership. But I don't think he'll be at the. I don't think he'll be at the club for the second half of the season anyway, and I don't think we're going to get. I don't see us getting rid of that many players in January. The squad isn't that full. I don't think we're going to get rid of all that many.
I don't know.
I think that might be a fair turnover. Yeah, I've got 9 to be fair, so 4 is very light.
What, do you want to list them off?
Yeah, I don't really care I don't care when they go. Right, Matt Macy, Paul McGinn, Paul Hanlon, Jamie Murphy, Dre Wright, Jamie Gullen, James Scott, Alex Gogic, and Sean Mackey.
No Scott Allen in there?
No, but he's definitely making his way on that list shortly, I think.
Right. What about yourself, Liam?
So same as you, but add in Gogic, Allen, and Jamie Murphy.
Are these ones you want / expect to see in January or more longer term?
Or just one?
I think a fair proportion of that's in will go, to be honest.
This month,
I don't see Alex Gogic staying at Hibs, to be honest.
No.
Under the current system. I don't see there being a need for Jamie Murphy. We've got Chris Mueller coming in, we've got Dan Mackay who can play on the left. Jamie Murphy's not really doesn't really help us tactically flexibly. He doesn't offer us anything that we've not got elsewhere. So I could see him going, and I could see Scott Allen going just because there's just not a place for him in this team and this system. And to be honest, there probably hasn't been a place for him for the last season, but
Centralised,
we're hanging on to faded glories at the end of the day. People still think that he's going to be the player from 2017.
Unfortunately, and look, it is unfortunately, but
it's massively unfortunate. No one would want it to work out any more than I do, but it's not gonna.
So I've got a list here of players that are contract expiry in the summer. So you've got Jamie Murphy, Scott Allen, Halberg, Gogic, McGinn, Dre Wright, and Sean Mackey. I've got obviously Mackey. I think will be away in January, and whether that be loan or permanently, I don't think you'll ever see him kick a ball for Hibs again. Dre Wright, I don't think he'll get a new deal. I'm not sure. I think he might be away in January, but again, I'm not sure. McGinn, I think he'll get a year's extension just as a player, potentially as a player to have around the team. I don't think I'd be devastated long term if he didn't, but I think he might. Gogic, I think he'll be away, but I don't think he'll leave in January. Same with Murphy and Allen. And Halberg's an interesting one, I think, because Liam, I would generally agree with what you've said. I think he could be a player that would probably suit what Maloney wants to do. I could see him.
Might be set on going back to Sweden. Yeah. That's the thing, and that's the thing we don't know about the players we're talking about purely from a Hibs fan and Hibs perspective. And the other variable we don't know is some of these players might need takers for them, especially if they've got slightly longer on their contract. I don't think there'll be a queue of clubs looking for some of these players that we've just talked about.
That's I don't expect many, if any, of the players that are out of contract in the summer to leave this window. I'd be surprised if there's a big turnover in players in January, but I think between January and the summer we will see quite a big turnover. I just think it'll take a window or two. But look, it is halfway through the season, and we will obviously, like we say, we'll do a little bit more on that next week. But
just on the ends, on the ends, a couple of names that we've probably not mentioned, but I think it's going to be a bit quiet. But the two Irish boys that were obviously linked with in the evening news, Dara Burns and somebody Kenny. I forget the boy Kenny's second name.
Johnny Kenny.
Was that a striker and a winger?
Striker and a winger. So I think they sounded like the evening news were pretty confident those are almost done deals, and I think we had kind of heard through the grapevine that we'd been in negotiations with for at least a couple of players from very early on. So I'd hope that they're still going to happen because they looked, certainly on the face of it, to be promising prospects.
I think that Dara Burns was at the final, so he was invited by Hibs as a guest at the final. So
was there one at the Dundee game as well? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I think that was Johnny Kenny. I think he'd been in attendance at Hibs game as well. So look, I think that if we can try and sign these younger players, the intention for them is probably not to be at Hibs a full career.
Yeah.
But I think if we can get something out them and they can get something to us or whatever, then by all means.
Am I right in saying
the market, like the Irish market generally, is where we, you look at St Mirren have had more good than bad signings out that League Ireland market. If they're 19 and they've played 50, 60, 70 games of men's football, generally it's a pretty I wouldn't say it's a safe bet because nothing's a safe bet in football, but like it's a good gamble, I would say, to take.
Preston have actually done quite well at the Irish market. They had Darryl Horgan and Sean Maguire from Cork, and I'm sure Alan Brown came from League of Ireland as well, so they've had a good kick at the ball as well. So I guess you never really know how it's going to work out until they're actually here, but I think that's certainly an interesting market, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think the striker's got a release clause. I think I remember seeing that. But the winger is more. He's got a contract and stuff there, so there would be fees involved as well. Which obviously, I think a lot of people are desperate to see the club to be seen to be backing the new manager.
I don't think we'll see him paying silly money. No. But I don't think these clubs would expect silly money for these players.
Yep. Look,
and on the strikers, just two more names. Can I get two more names?
Mate, keep listing them. You said you never had any.
No, sorry. They've been coming to me as we've been talking.
He's got a big dossier.
It's a bit about. I don't know. I feel like I maybe mentioned it when we recorded, but I don't know if I did. It was Zach Rudden, who's obviously done relatively well at Partick Thistle. I think in terms of the profile of player, I think he probably would fit the system that Maloney wants to play in terms of being quite high energy. I don't think he's finished product just yet, it's fair to say, but it'd be one that would be interesting. And then the other one, which I don't know if it's just expired because Graham Maffey's moved on, but do you remember we got really close to signing that boy from Accrington Stanley?
Dion Charles.
Dion Charles.
He's not been playing for them because of his contract issue. So he may well. I think he's got other clubs interested, but he's not been playing for them because there's a dispute about the contract. So I think it's one that should be kept an eye on. I think I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to tell when someone's not playing every week. But
I guess another one that we were linked with in the past, or two. Sorry, you've seen probably a couple of months ago we were linked with Stuart Finlay. Out at Philadelphia Union, and obviously Jamie McGrath on deadline day as well. I'll touch on them both quickly. I think the Jamie McGrath one is probably likely not to happen. I think it's pretty well known that Hibs were sort of just chancing their luck because his deal down south had fell through a little bit. So I would think he'll have suitors available, given he's been capped for Ireland since, I think, as well, hasn't he? So that'll probably raise his profile a little bit. Stuart Finlay would be an interesting one. Obviously experienced in Scotland and young. What would be your thoughts on they two?
I'm not sure you should be talking about suitors today. That's quite a sensitive subject.
I was going to come. I was going to come on to some other wider Scottish transfer news, but
would take McGrath. Don't think we'll get him, but I wouldn't touch Finlay with a shitty stick, to be honest.
Nah,
not for me. No.
Liam,
kind of on the fence with Stuart Finlay because I think there's definitely some good qualities there, but I'm always dead wary of like guys that I've seen probably play. So Stuart Finlay under Steve Clarke, yes, at the time, the guy that played for Steve Clarke's Kilmarnock and looked like a very capable defender. Stuart Finlay, every other game I've seen him play, Kilmarnock, no.
I think that's absolutely fair. Look, elsewhere, Tony Watt seems to be going to Dundee United. Not one that I've seen a lot of Hibs fans say that they think maybe we should have been in for him, but not for me.
He's just following the money. I know they've got back into the habit of piling money into the squad.
He's had a good 6 months. Like, you know what I mean? And
I think he's probably no bad player, but I think he's had 13 clubs in his career so far. Absolutely wild.
He's not, and I think a lot of people forget he played for Hearts, but that's nothing to do with the fact that I would or wouldn't. I've got, if a player's good enough, then the player's good enough. But I don't think he is. I genuinely don't think. I think he's had a good 6 months at the start of this season for Motherwell. And the fact that he's willing to move on so quickly as well to a team that ultimately are, I would say Dundee United. I would say Dundee United and Motherwell probably realistically playing for the same position. If everyone plays to their strengths, they're both playing for 6th place. I would like,
I'm always a bit wary of players that have a good, clubs have taken a gamble on, and then they go. That doesn't sit right with me. I don't understand why you'd move from Motherwell to Dundee United. Motherwell are a lot more stable in every aspect than Dundee United. I really don't know. I mean, if he's got ambitions of being called up for Scotland, you're more likely to be called up playing for Motherwell than you are for Dundee United. He's top scorer in the league at Motherwell because he gets the service. I don't really know why, but good luck to him. Imagine moving from Motherwell to Dundee. But there we go.
Liam, would that have been one that you would have liked Hibs to be sniffing about in?
Nah, I've seen a lot of people shouting for it. Probably different to you, but obviously our Hibs Twitter echo chamber is different. I did see quite a few people saying that we should be making it happen. Not for me, not on the basis of the last 6 months. I think Craig Fowler actually had said that Hibs and Hearts should be looking at him. He's obviously kind of forgotten what he was like when he was at Hearts. I know a few years have passed and he's a different player. And I'll be honest and say I've been impressed with him this season when I played, but I think there's just too much potential for him to regress back to the player he was before that 6 month spell for us to be interested. So
yeah,
if I'm honest, I think players can suit clubs. I think Tony Watt suits Motherwell quite well, which is why I'm baffled as to why he's left. I think the whole environment at Motherwell suits him.
Talking
The way
so
that
much
Motherwell
fucking sense
play.
tonight, you and it.
No, it's ridiculous. I
No,
was
no,
I was hoping he was going to come out and say, Tony Watt, 3-year contract.
You have to scrape me off the floor.
No, but I think look, the environment at Motherwell, the way Motherwell play, it suits Tony Watt.
Bit like Scott Allen at Hibs,
Dundee
potentially.
United won't suit
And
him.
he's
For me,
first.
I think he'll fall on his face. But that's up to him. Look, he's made a decision. He wants to follow the money. But
Yeah.
I think he's going to regret that very quickly.
Just briefly, obviously we do specify Hibs related stuff, but elsewhere in the Scottish Premiership, obviously there's various murmurs. I mean, Hearts look like John Souttar's either leaving permanently in the summer, potentially this window. I don't know if they'll try and get a fee for him. Celtic look like they're going to be bringing in 2 or 3 more from the Japanese market. What's your thoughts on the January transfer window as a whole? Do you think Hibs need to be wary of other teams strengthening, and is it a chance for us to really kick on in the second half of the season?
I wouldn't really be more concerned about what other folk are doing. I really don't care who Celtic are signing or who Hearts are signing. They're looking at someone for the Japanese league as well. I really don't care. You know, they were waxing lyric about that Machino. He went missing for months.
Okay.
So look, players can come with good pedigree. Whether it works out or not, it's a different scenario. But Hibs need to focus on themselves. We're 5th in the league. You know, folk have been waxing lyrical about Aberdeen for a while now. We're ahead of them. I really think we're in a good position if we can make good signings in the January window. Then we'll only kick on for here.
Yep.
So really don't care about what anyone else does.
It's interesting listening to some people talk about, and I'm not an expert on this subject at all, but like post-Brexit, that potentially signing out outside of what would traditionally have been European unions kind of made easier by
all right
new laws, and be potentially some Scottish clubs kind of scouting around those non-European markets for players to pick up. I guess players from what we'd call lesser leagues, or certainly where players have paid less, and just with Ron Gordon's American and potentially Peruvian connections, I wonder if we are considering some markets that are outside our usual sort of scope.
Aye.
I think, having said that, obviously everything in the fucking COVID world is made more difficult, so maybe that's part of the reason we haven't done any of that. But I think the Mueller signing maybe a bit of an interesting signing things to come, but there's obviously quite a lot riding on whether or not that signing works out or not. And
I know that Hearts signed someone from the Australian league. That's another league that I really wouldn't touch. It's very poor, the standard. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's really not great.
It's quite slow, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me, now that there's been a restructuring of the recruitment, I now trust the club again to make the right decisions. I trust Sean Maloney's judgment. He's seen world-class football players. I trust the way he looks at the game. I'm not concerned. Anyone that comes in, I'll be happy to support. I just think that we need to not go to places like Asia, like Australia, and look at players, because I don't think it. I mean, Kyogo's worked out, but come on, let's not get too silly and draft players in for there, because they could turn out to be absolute diddies. Yeah. So
I'd be trusting the Australian league when Jamie McLaren's comfortably one of the best players in the league.
Well, exactly.
It tells you all you need to know, really. I think that's difficult. See on central midfielders, because I think there was a wee bit of consensus just around central midfielders and kind of looking for that sort of slightly all rounder. I'm just interested, is anyone in the kind of Scottish leagues or any other leagues that you've watched that you'd maybe be interested in us looking at?
I see. This is speaking about this other day. I don't think there's been many standout players in the Scottish Premiership this season. I really don't. I think McGrath would be one. If we could somehow get, I'd be. Do you know, if we could see it, whatever deal was agreed in January, see if it was on the table. Yes, please. Whatever deal was agreed in the summer, if it was still available in January, then I'd be all for it. I think he's a consistently good performer at St Mirren. Again, I don't know if he's reached the heights this year that he did last year either. I obviously got a bad injury. It was against Rangers. I think he got stretchered off. But no, I really don't know. There's not been any real standout performers. I think last season at St Johnstone you had your Rooneys, your Kerrs, etc. Obviously Alan McCann. But obviously you've got Celtic and Rangers players that are doing well, but you're never going to go and take players for there. I don't know. I really don't know, if I'm being honest. There's nobody that's really screaming out to me that would, especially the Scottish leagues, that we should go after, if I'm honest.
Fuchs at Dundee United is probably not kind of fitting the profile anymore either, is he? In terms of the sort of player that Maloney would want. He's one I'd want us to have gone after, but I feel like he's too, like, his strength is definitely the defensive side of the game and winning back possession, but he probably feels too limited on the ball to play in a Maloney team. I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully there's rumours are what they are, but they're always exciting. Do you want to make up anything? Get on McBookie? Any names? Any random names that you just want to pluck out? And
I'll tell you what, I'd take a few kettle Nutson's players if we could fucking muster the cash to sign some of them. I'd be all over that. Is it Eric Botheim, the striker? They've got the 19-year-old boy who's been banging them in. I'd be all over any of the players. And to be honest, the Norwegian market's not out of reach for Hibs. But if there's players in Norway who are pulling up trees, I know we're obviously linked to that boy in the summer that was it Christopher Tonnesson, that could play right across the defence. I know we're obviously linked to the Norwegian league, there's some good players by all accounts that play there. And I would not be an expert in Norwegian football, nor would I pretend to be an expert on Scandinavian
Swedish football is your sort of your style, isn't it?
It's more my soft spot, Greg. I do a big. I was going to say I'm an IF Hammarby fan, but I don't think I am. I just based that on the fact they're playing green and white. No, those leagues are within reach, and obviously I think we're going to be linked with players from Belgium because Sean Maloney's been based there for the last few years. We're going to be linked with players from Belgium. Do I really see him knowing the ins and outs of the Belgian league all that well? Probably not, because there's not a huge number of Belgian internationals that actually play in the Belgian league. There's only really a handful of them that play in that league. And financially, probably the Belgian leagues, certainly in terms of the TV deals, probably a wee bit ahead of us, I would say, financially.
Most leagues are. See, just before we wrap up, outgoings, back to that. In the summer, obviously, there was a lot of chat about Nisbet and Doig. Are you expecting bids for anyone?
No.
From the Hibs?
No, they've not been good enough to suggest bids would be coming in. Maybe in this new system it'll suit them, but for me, the two of them have been dire in parts this season.
I think on the basis he's not signed a new deal, I think we may see clubs sniffing about Ryan Porteous. Whether anything happens or not, I don't know. But I think Porteous is a potential exit.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's not one that would actually shock me.
I think
from a personal point of view.
I think he's possibly someone that a manager would look at and be like, you can be my project, I'll try and almost harness some of the parts of your game and try and enhance others. So I think managers, and certainly the Championship, would probably quite like that, quite an aggressive centre-half. But who knows, I think that the fucking transfer windows are an absolute free for all in it. Like there's so much.
January,
There's so much that goes on, and you see the panic buying towards the end of January. Been there enough for Hibs, so it honestly could go anywhere.
And we've seen in the past what one deal can do as well. Like it can have a full knock-on effect.
Last January, Nisbet threw his toys at the pram because he wasn't getting away, but it's what it is. But need to wait and see.
Right.
I think it's very unlikely he goes anywhere.
So I'd be surprised. I think he'll be away in the summer though, because I think he would. There was loads of talk about his new deal at the start of the season, which has seemed to die. And I think in the summer he'd be entering his last year. I think anyway. But no, look, I hope we'll be back next week. What he's got? Big New Year plans? No derby?
Nah. To be honest, I'd up there after that Christmas, so I'll be taking it quite easy.
Good lad. I'll be pretty quiet for us, for me as well, I think. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, it'll be either the 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Not committing to a day as of yet, but hopefully Hibs have signed someone. You never know. But what we'll do next week is we will review all our pre-season predictions for Hibs and for the league as a whole, and we can have a right good laugh at ourselves. And hope everyone has a good new year. Stay safe and healthy and all that. And thanks. We'll be back next week. Cheers.
Take care.